We're back with more of the WHHI news. November 20th is Utility Scam Awareness Day, and in anticipation of that, the South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs has held a webinar to get people educated, and they also want to keep spreading the word. So joining me now from that organization is Scott Cooke. Scott, utility scams, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, a lot of times it's just that kind of phone call out of the blue where you may get either a phone call or text message, some kind of message from these scammers, and they're telling you there's usually a problem with your bill. They're going to say, if you don't pay within 24 hours, we're going to shut off your service. And then a lot of times they're trying to send you to maybe a Bitcoin ATM machine or some kind of cryptocurrency ATM, or they want you to pay with one of those payment apps that you have on your phone already. So they're sending you this some kind of unusual thing that you don't usually associate with your utility company. So, just kind of know that these utilities, the real ones, they're not going to contact you out of the blue like that. There are rules that they have to follow. If they were to actually turn off your power, they have to give you a written notice 10 days before, and then they have to do a second notice. So these notices just out of the blue like that by the phone especially aren't going to happen from your real utility.
Well, I can imagine though, Scott, people probably panic sometimes if they hear that's the situation, or it's being reported that, water's going to be turned off, electricity or whatever. So you just want to make people to be aware, to be calm. What about personal information? You mentioned they may say, hey, go to pay with Bitcoin or this or that, but are they also trying to fish for personal information too?
Absolutely. They want any kind of that information that they can get because they know a lot of that stuff is kind of more valuable to them than even, a payment. If you send them $100, they might be able to, do a little bit with that. But if they can get some information from you, that can be a lot more valuable for it because they can use it over and over, and they can sell that information as well to other scammers. So you really want to kind of think about those calls, those text messages, emails. What are they asking for? And, honestly, if it's information that a utility would be asking you for, you probably figure you pay the same way every month with your utility, especially if it's gas or, power, water, something like that. You pay those bills the same way. So they're not going to call you and ask you for those payment information things because they have it already. You pay that way every month. So they have that type of information already.
That's really good advice. So in other words, if they ask for a different form of payment, or say you don't pay automatic withdrawal from your bank account or whatever, and they want that bank account number or your credit card number, and that's not how you pay, you really don't want to be giving that out over the phone, right?
Yeah, and sometimes they'll even try to trick you. They'll say, we need to confirm your payment, and then try to get you to give that information over that way. So they're not really saying there's a problem per se, but they're asking you to confirm information, but you're confirming it by giving it away. So if they're trying to confirm it, they should already have that information.
And would you suggest then if someone gets a call or a text or an email or a letter, I doubt letters are really the format anymore, but do you suggest they actually call the legitimate utility company just to say, hey, was that you, or just double check?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime anybody's asking for that information, you can always, if it's a phone call, hang up, or if it's a text, don't respond. Those are kind of the best things. And you want to go through those channels you normally communicate with those companies, so you can look up their phone number on your bill if you've got one, or you can go to their website. You probably use that same website every month to go in and pay your utility bill anyway. So go to that site, check out any of the phone numbers or anything like that. And if you're getting those suspicious messages, give them a call, let them know what's happening so they can let other people know, so they can warn other customers not to fall victim for this type of stuff.
So has your department actually heard from people where this has been attempted here in the state in South Carolina?
Yeah, I went on some of the different utilities last week when we were kind of putting our presentation together, and there were a couple of different power companies, especially that had put out warnings in the last 2 or 3 weeks where they know it's this time of year where people may be turning on the heat for the first time, or they're just, even with daylight saving time, our usage is changing a little bit. So scammers are kind of taking advantage of some of that, and then they start placing those phone calls and that type of stuff. So really, I would encourage people, if you're on social media, follow your utilities too, because you'll see those types of warnings from them if they're getting that type of calls or those types of messages coming out, that they need to warn their customers about.
Well, Scott Cooke with the South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs, some great advice, and thanks for joining us here on WHHI.
Thank you.
And we'll be back in just a moment.